Let me show these suckers how to ball out here. Oh, man, let's get this together here. Oh, layup. Oh, shot. Oh, three. Oh, it's like Brick City out here. Mid-range. Oh, my goodness. I can't buy a bucket out here. I missed the whole damn basket. Oh, my goodness. What's going on, man? My game is looking trash. Oh, here we go. Black Power Media shirt. Now we cooking. Trees. I'm taking on three of y'all with these right here. Between the legs. Oh, my goodness. Behind the back. Layup. Oh, and did he just do a reverse? He is in beast mode out here. I ain't got to look. It's falling. Oh, my goodness. This guy is going 3, 2, 1. Kobe. Nice. Black Power Media, baby. Nice. Empower yourself. Go get you some of that Black Power Media again. Right here, blackpowermedia.org. Yep.
I mix what I like. What's up, world? Welcome to another edition of I Mix What I Like right here, BPM. Again, I'm Jared Ball. Very happy to be your host. Out of the gate, of course, welcome. And as my man Math, whose show I no longer unfortunately can watch, as he says, maybe still, be polite when you come on in and wipe your feet by clicking the like, hitting the share, put this in your socials. What's up, remixers? Welcome to those who will be here with us live. To those who will see and hear this later, welcome to you as well. Do the same. And please, if you can, support our Patreon. The link is in the show description. Much more coming up. And make sure you have the bell rung so that you don't miss anything that I and my comrades do on the platform. And as we wait just a couple seconds for the rest of our guests to come in who are already starting to file in, big shout out to Daughters of the Whirlwind. I just caught their Happy Kwanzaa program. Please do check that out. The multi-talented sisters who not only bring the knowledge and the reservoir of wisdom and historical familial experience, but also have a multitude of musical talents. So please check that out when you get a chance as well. All right, so as I mentioned the other day, part of my duty is, in these tree-lined streets representing Hickory Ridge, I've been wanting to support as much as I can out here in Howard County. Shout out everybody coming in. And first of all, before I even go on, I realize we're doing this live right up against Electronic Intifada's live. So I'm not mad if people see this in the replay. And I didn't realize we were doing that. So those looking for good content on Palestine, there might be some conflict here, and shout out to them, of course. But if I wasn't here, I'd be watching that as well. So, but those who are here, welcome to you. Thank you for coming on in, and we can check each other's content later in the aftermath as well. So, but as I said, I started trying to get more caught up with what's going on out here in Howard County, Columbia, Maryland in particular. And I went to an event convened by some of our guests the other night, and I'm going to let them explain all of that. But I just wanted to say it was, as I mentioned the other day, quite a revelation for me. I've not seen this level of political analysis in these spaces. I've not been out here in Columbia and been to spaces. I didn't know what to expect when I walked in. And throughout the evening, from the youth in high schools to elders and everyone in between from all over the place, the analyses were on fire. And admittedly, I'm more used to getting that in DC, maybe in Baltimore, but in Howard County, that was new for me. So it was great. So when in the follow-up, somewhat in the run-up, this has been sort of long in the build, but definitely wanted to connect with some of the folks and bring them to this platform. So we've done that. So I'm going to bring them to the stage and welcome everybody. Greetings. Good afternoon to you. And I'm going to, if I can, turn it over to you all to introduce yourselves and tell us what this formation is, what brings you here, and then we'll go from there. But thank you all very much, and welcome. And Jake, you're gonna, yeah, everybody unmute. Go ahead, and whoever's gonna chime on in, welcome. Come on in.
Good afternoon. Thanks, Jared, for having us on here and allowing us to talk to you about what we are doing here in Howard County. My name is Hori Hadbu. I'm a resident in Howard County. Been involved in mostly involved in zoning and land use in Howard County because, as you know, zoning and land use is what affects most of our lives on a daily basis. I would say 90% of what happens to us on a daily basis is done at the county council. And so that's where my focus has been. After this tragedy, this carnage started in Gaza, my focus has been mostly in bringing awareness to the issue of Palestine. And so, with the others here, with Jake and Alam and others, we have been putting on events. We had a rally a few weeks ago, and a vigil, and of course the town hall that you just recently mentioned. And I think what you mentioned earlier about the Howard County centric aspect of it is important, because if we are going to have any impact on Gaza, I think we have to start from home, and same way that the same way that there were of course, we can't take credit. Nobody can take credit for how the South Africans got rid of the apartheid state. That was, they did that, but of course localities and in other countries had an impact as well. And so we need to focus on what our elected officials locally are saying and doing when it comes to Palestine. And right now they're not saying anything. Nobody has said ceasefire. Nobody has said that what Israel is doing is horrible, and we don't stand for that. And so that's why we want to pursue these goals that we'll discuss it throughout the show.
Right on. Thank you very much, Alam.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us on here. It's really a pleasure to be here with you and with Jake and Hiri. My name's Ahlam. I am part of Maryland to Palestine, which is a grassroots organization. We started in 2021, actually, with the Unity Intifada. So about 2 years ago, the Zionist state did what it does best and started really ramping up their violence against Palestinians again. And there was a really big moment for Palestine organizing. And myself and some comrades noticed that there wasn't a super young Palestine organizing space in Maryland that was really making these more, I guess you would say, radical demands of like a free Palestine and all of that. So we started Maryland to Palestine, and we've been organizing across the state for the last few years, mostly like in the DC area, like heading DC protests and all that kind of stuff. And then within, the last few months has been really like emergency actions, and all of that has been our main focus.
All right, right on. Welcome. Nice to meet you. Jake, welcome.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Thank you, Jared, for having us on. My name is Jake Burdett. I am the co-chair of Our Revolution Howard County here in Howard County. But Our Revolution Howard County's definitely been a big part in playing a supporting role in everything that Huri's new group, Howard County for Free Palestine, has been doing. As Jared said, we've been doing a lot of like really hyper local activism the last few years, including, getting people like Jared elected onto our local, village boards here in Columbia, which is the equivalent of our city council.
Massive, world-shattering change, I'm telling you.
Yes,
it's an incredible accomplishment.
We're working on it. We're working on it. But on a more serious note, I think what's been interesting to me is, like Huri, I do have a background of national politics, international politics, strong anti-imperialist thoughts. But ever since I graduated in college in 2020 and moved back to Howard County, most of my activism has been just at the local level with land use and developer issues. And so it's been very interesting that when this happened with what Israel's been doing, especially since October 7th, it was just basically too hard to ignore, and we felt like we had to do something, even though it's different from our usual realm of activism. But what has been fascinating is seeing how that those bases that we built organizing at the local level can now be deployed for even international causes. And you might think, well, how is there really any crossover? How can the two connect? But when you think about when you're working on those local issues for years, you build relationships with the local elected officials who are now in a position to put pressure on the federal people in Congress to actually stop aiding this genocide. And so that's we've done a lot of events in the past, as Huri's discussed, town halls, rallies, stuff like that. And it's really in my eyes building momentum to put the pressure on the elected officials that we need. And it all starts at the bottom up. And so one thing that we're planning to do in the future is try to get our local county council to pass a resolution calling for a ceasefire, declaring Israel an apartheid state. And we have not approached the legislators about that yet, but that's what's in the works. And again, we've been using all of this movement that we built these past couple of years to try to do this at the international level now. So thank you again, Jared, for having us on.
No, I mean, and really any time. So I'm not entirely sure how you all want to proceed, but my initial question, or one of them, is what are the immediate goals for the various groups and coalitions represented here? Please, by the way, also at some point send me an email with whatever I need to put in the show description so people can follow up with you all after the fact. But let's start there. What is it that Jake, you mentioned getting the labeling of Israel as an apartheid state, and is that the immediate goal, or are there others? And what would you like to see building from there?
That is a big goal. But really, before I explain what some of the goals are, I want to explain to the audience, especially those who don't live in Howard County, or even those who don't live in Maryland, like how have our local and state elected officials been responding to this since October 7th? Because I think people, I'm sure in your audience, like generally feel the same way that we do on Palestine, and see, maybe at, colleges taking anti-free speech actions. And we know how it happens at the federal level. People might not be cued into how even these state and local institutions and elected officials who don't even take Israel lobby money are still complicit with it. And so, and this again has been part of the fuel of us deciding to organize in the first place. But basically, we know one of the main tactics used is to try to, silence and suppress any organizations or individuals who will speak up in favor of Palestinian solidarity. And they could do that against individuals, but also against organizations. And one really scary way that we saw that play out here in the state of Maryland is there's this very well-respected, about as radical as it gets in terms of nonprofits, but it's an immigration advocacy nonprofit called Casa de Maryland, or now it's just called CASA because they're actually a national organization at this point, but their roots are in Maryland, and they've helped us with our rent stabilization efforts here in Howard County and Montgomery County. A lot of really strong, they're not afraid to do direct actions against elected officials. And basically, they're one of the few nonprofits in the state who was willing to put out a ceasefire statement shortly after October 7th. And because they are this well-respected immigration advocacy organization, elected officials, even if they're annoyed with their advocacy, sometimes they feel obligated to, like, give them credit, respect them, acknowledge them. But this, with them putting this Palestinian solidarity statement out, it really seemed to be a deal breaker for many members of the Maryland political establishment. And basically, CASA has a lot of paid staff, and they get a lot of funding to provide their services, and a lot of that funding does come from state government grants. And so when CASA put out this statement in support of Palestine, every single Montgomery County state senator, and including a Howard County state senator, Katie Fry Hester, they all put out a statement saying, basically demanding that CASA retract their statement, apologize, denounce anti-Semitism and all that. Basically, say that their own statement was anti-Semitism, and if they don't do all of that, then they're going to pool all of the state funding for CASA, and then CASA basically wouldn't be able to survive as an organization. So this wasn't an implicit or subtle threat. This was a very explicit public threat that they all signed a letter saying, yeah, if you advocate for Palestine, we're going to call it anti-Semitic, and we're going to use that as a reason to
take
not
your
fund
state funding, right?
Yes,
Wow.
yes.
Wow.
And so, yeah.
Well, let me just ask Alam the same question, or to add on from your perspective, to the extent it's any different. What would you all like to see is the immediate goal, and then go from there?
Yeah, the most immediate demand, first and foremost, is a permanent ceasefire. As we speak, the Zionist state continues to bomb Gaza with impunity. They're murdering hundreds and hundreds of people every day. So the very first thing is a permanent ceasefire. And beyond that, what we are really organizing around is an end to the material support that the United States provides for the Zionist state in the form of military funding and weapons. And the dismantling of this apartheid racist state and the construction of a truly democratic state for all people with the right of return for Palestinian refugees who have been denied the right to return since 1948, when they were first kicked out, when the Zionist state was first created. So, ceasefire is the first demand, but ceasefire is definitely not our last demand. And we will continue to organize until, like your background says, from the river to the sea, Palestine is free.
Right on.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to that. I think, of course, the ceasefire, the ceasefire declaration that counts is, unfortunately, it's at the federal level, and that's where there's been a huge, intransigence or unwilling to listen to people saying ceasefire. Majority of the country wants this carnage to stop. So that's, obviously that's what, that hopefully that's, they do that very soon. Biden and our elected officials in Maryland, hopefully they do that. And from a local point of view, I think it is also important for our county council and county executive to say ceasefire, because one, it goes to the expression of where we stand as a community, whether we're okay with what's going on, and two, it's also a question of, are we going to allow a very small, extreme, group of people to intimidate us into not speaking out, because that has led to the repression or crackdown on free speech at various institutions, schools, teachers, universities, other employers. So that's also an important thing to declare.
Presidents.
Yeah, presidents. Three, I think it also is part of a long-term effort where the people that we have two state senator and a state delegate in Howard County running for Congress right now. Delegate Terry Hill and State Senator Clarence Lamb. They all started here. And so if we're not electing people, who are willing to say ceasefire and who are willing to, who are not willing to say ceasefire and who are not willing to call out Israel as an apartheid state, then we're just, advancing, horrible candidates to the federal level. And so that's why it's important that we do that here in the short term as well. And then the long term is, as Jake mentioned, to make sure that, to have our communities label Israel for what it is, and create the foundation for our country to stop funding this horrible system of government that it's been, that we've been doing this for 75 years. We've been doing this, and so it's not going to be overnight, but we have to start here in how, for at least from our point of view, we have to start here in Howard County, get those changes done, and then create the movement for state level and federal level.
So, yeah, and I admit, I mean, I grew up out here, and other than being born and then returning as an adult later to DC, I've been out here my entire life, and I don't know very much about the inner workings of the structure, even the apparatus. I've been learning a lot in the last year, but I've often wondered. I mean, as an adult, at least my entire adult life, I've been confused as to really what to do out here. I've not understood what activism even looks like. So that's what I've been at one point years ago, Kamal Franklin, a co-founder of this platform, and I even talked about co-authoring a book on the subject. What does it look like to bring Black radical political organization to the burbs? Because I was like, I don't know. I mean, it's so when I'm coming across the work you all are involved in, and just so to the extent others don't already understand, Maryland is a decidedly Democratic Party state, but we're clearly seeing the shortcomings of that. What is the plan? I guess is the broad. Is it to engage and try to get radicals into the Democratic Party? Is it to try to support alternative party development? Is it outside electoral party politics? All of the above? Where do you all see this going, and what maybe are your specific groups or encouraging particularly?
I can start us off here. So Maryland to Palestine, we do some electoral work, but I think for the most part, we have kind of all become very disillusioned with electoral politics, especially seeing the way that, there's not a lot that both parties agree on, but the Zionist state is the one thing that both parties fully agree on. So I think especially like in this moment, a lot of what we focus on is education, first of all, because there are just a lot of people who have no idea what's going on and they're going along with the status quo. So education is probably one of our most powerful tools that we can continue to use. And the second one is disruption. Like with South African apartheid was palatable up until it wasn't profitable. So, when organizers and people across the country were disrupting daily life and it became expensive to support South African apartheid, that's when we started to see the tide shift. So I think that's at least what we're focusing on. We also, because we work across the state, it's a little bit more difficult to focus on a certain governmental body. But I think for us, at least, like, we know that electoral politics are not going to save us. The gatekeepers of this stolen land are not going to give us our stolen land in Palestine back. So we're trying to work outside of those systems.
So Jared, it's not just the political parties that have failed, right? So look at who's silent on this issue right now. You have faith groups who are silent. Almost every major faith group in Howard County is silent. I mean, and I'm sure it's the state level as well. You have nonprofits who are organized on the concept of this anti-racism and DEI issues are silent. So it's, I mean, that's, to me, that's the scary part. So it's not even just about changing or addressing the political parties and who's leading us. It's it's also addressing these foundations that that are the basis of they're responsible for who we elect. You have groups like People Acting Together in Howard County, which is a group of coalitions, faith groups and nonprofits who advocate on a lot of other issues, but completely silent. And so, I think that's so. It would be to me, it's we need to expose that first and show that these people have been building a house of cards, and that that's it's been shown that it's failed in a major way. And I think in the short term, it's to give people, elected officials, we have one who has said ceasefire and who received backlash from that and had to apologize, Liz Walsh in Howard County, to give people like that,
He apologized?
Yeah, she apologized. Yeah, she had to apologize. And
And
what
I'm sorry, it's not funny. But what did she? I mean, so she said she called for a ceasefire, got backlash, and then what was the apology? What did she say? I didn't mean ceasefire. Keep bombing them.
She issued, so her initial statement was like a 20-word statement saying, this is a genocide, and we need a ceasefire. This was her statement, paraphrasing, but it's a 20-word statement. Subsequently, she issued a 300 and something word statement apologizing for that and saying that she is sorry for causing, I'm paraphrasing again, causing a lot of pain for those statements. And but that's the environment that we're in Howard County, because there's a group there are Zionist groups in Howard County as well, who are very close to because Howard County is built with like the nonprofit and the government is so intertwined that they're able to they're very symbiotic. And so the Zionist groups are also very they have a lot of influence, and so she was forced to apologize. So we need to so at the very least to start with, we have to give we have to make it comfortable for people who want to say ceasefire to come out and say ceasefire, because it's just there's a climate of fear.
That's wild, because I thought we lived in the land of Black Lives Matter signs, and science is not what was I can't even remember what the phrase, everybody's welcome, and
I believe in science.
I believe in science, and the what was the LGBTQ
love is love.
Love is love, all of that, all those signs everywhere. But you say ceasefire, and they're like, nah.
That's anti-Semitism.
That's it.
You're a horrible person.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the reasons why. And Jake, feel free to jump in with a response to any of this. But this is why I've always had a hard time, and I've been really lax in criticism for people who try to organize out here and in spaces like Columbia and Howard County, because it just feels like the initial foothold is difficult to make, whether it's the levels of comfort or this fake liberalism, or I don't know, but it's for me, always been very difficult to find a foothold. So I've really appreciate what you all are doing here. And Jake, go ahead. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, so just to give some context for the Liz Walsh statement that she had to retract, that was not that long after October 7th. She put that and then had to backtrack after the retaliation. But 5 days ago, she did just put out another post calling for a ceasefire. But now she's disabled comments because I guess she learned her lesson the first time. But to the point of that she had to apologize the first time. It's really hard to gauge things because we don't have a poll of how do people in Howard County feel about, Palestine. For all we know, it might have, majority support in support of Palestine in Howard County. And it's just a small but very hyper vocal like segment of Zionists who were like dogpiling in the comments. And then it feels like it's the entire county doing it. And so, I'll just say that if we don't truly know how people feel, but in terms of like how to organize in Howard County, I mean, that goes for any issue. We don't have a poll of how people in Howard County feel. So all I can do is gauge off of when I talk to people at the doors, and I've knocked a lot of doors in Columbia and other parts of Howard County. And when I talk to people and say, hey, I'm supporting this candidate who's not taking any corporate money. They're going to fight for you so that, we have affordable housing, we have non-overcrowded schools and non-overcrowded hospitals. And people generally support a message like that. And, so in terms of whether you label it progressive, radical, whatever, I think it's really about how you sort of package things. And then, local politics is just like any other. Just because the position has, popular support and a candidate is running on all those positions doesn't mean that they're automatically going to win. You just have corporations buy races and get elected officials with really horrible stances elected, even if it's counter to the voters. And so, jumping off what Ahlam said earlier, yeah, I don't think that electoral politics is the silver bullet that's going to save the day. And I recommend an inside-outside approach, but I do think that there is a space for electoral politics because at the end of the day, all the pressure that we're doing on the outside is to have the people who have the authority to make these decisions. And those fights are easier if you have some people who are somewhat allied on the inside, somebody like a Liz Walsh or somebody like a Jared Ball who, if we were a little bit more organized and if some of your colleagues on the village board shared your politics a little bit more, like your village board could put out a Palestinian solidarity statement. And, sometimes it just takes those small things at the bottom up to like get the snowball rolling and it trickles up.
So I honestly didn't consider it. I'm happy to propose that we do that when we reconvene next month. And I'm sure that's what the world has been waiting for the Hickory Ridge Village Board to chime in. But I will say that when we did our village, board member highlights, and I announced a couple times that I was supporting these Palestinian rallies, the non-response and silence was palpable. It was like no follow-up, no disagreement, just crickets. Not one word was said by anyone in the room in response. But yeah, I'm happy to do that. I hadn't thought about that, but I can do. I have no problem with that. I was just trying to. So real quick, recent. And let me make sure I'm pronounced. I have it. I realized preparing for today. I haven't said your name out loud. Hurry. Am I saying that correctly?
Like hurry.
Like hurry. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
I'll just think of it that way. Hurry. Okay. But you sent let me just share. I put the comments over here from Liz Walsh, just real quick, that you shared. So the initial statement read, just a quick, October 7th massacre by Hamas cannot justify the ongoing collective punishment of the Palestinian people. This is genocide. So she did the whole, Hamas condemnation thing first, but okay. But then her apology is, I offer this heartfelt apology by my own language and what oh wait, my heartfelt apology. By my own language and what certain further words and sentiments uncensored my language invited, I caused many of you pain and fear and disappointment, and for that I'm very sorry. To those of you who I don't mean to be laughing. I don't mean to diminish anything for real by laughing. To those of you I most love and care about and respect, I hope that you can forgive me for that anguish. I do not bear the intergenerational trauma that weighs upon so many of you. Wow, this is wow. All of that.
She just said ceasefire. That was it.
Wow.
That was it.
And that's causing intergenerational trauma.
This is the ridiculous. Not
the bombs dropping on literally, not literally people dying and watching their generations get obliterated. That's not that's not comparable to the.
That's what's scary to me, is the fact that she has to write a 300 word apology and go into detail about how someone might have felt hurt by the fact that she said stop killing babies. Is the savagery is even here. They're like, even in our home, in our home county, the savagery is there, that they're okay with, that they feel so hurt that she said ceasefire. And so, it should give us pause that's what we're surrounded by. And the most powerful are the ones who are, they can literally reach out to her and say, this is horrible. And, immediately she would put out a statement like that.
And just to give you the picture in like other counties, in Montgomery County, the biggest county in Maryland with over 1 million people right next to DC, they're very fortunate to have an openly democratic socialist county executive named Mark Elrick, who, is, I would say, the most progressive county executive we have. He's also Jewish. And I've heard that he's like getting lectured on like, yeah, so this is why this is anti-Semitic. And like, so that, it's like literally like Jewish elected officials being like lectured probably by a lot of non-Jews on why like anti-Zionism supposedly
so is Zionist splaining. Is that what this is? Something like
basically to Jewish people. Yeah.
Yeah. To Jews. That's crazy. So I just happened to see this in a quick, I started looking at Liz's stuff, and then I just noticed that my namesake on his Twitter page, not really my namesake, but Calvin Ball, no relation, Howard County council member. What is this picture? What should we glean from this picture here? How do you all interpret this picture? If we were to do like a quick media study, semiotic study in semiotics, and related to what we've raised here in terms of organizing and the politics, what is conveyed? How do you all, what's the Rorschach response to this picture for you all? Anything?
I think it's all just an incestual circle. Like they're all cut from the same cloth. Like they all don't have any values or any integrity, and they're just opportunistic people. So they're gonna like. But yeah, Wes Moore wants to run for president one day, and Wes Moore is absolutely going to run for president one day. And every Maryland elected official, I think, knows that. And so that picture right there is Calvin Ball, our county executive, who's going to be term limited out in 2026. Surprisingly, decided he's not going to run for this open congressional seat. So I think that picture is Calvin Ball ingratiating himself to a potential future president, at the very least the current governor. And Calvin Ball probably wants to get a job in that administration. I'm sure Wes Moore is brown nosing to the Israel lobby for that future presidential run.
So he had one more term to run, Calvin did, and he's not running. Does that mean anything? Is he preparing?
He does not have any more terms to run for county executive, which is why I would have expected that he would have ran for Congress, because
that's right.
What other political future? But I would guess he's probably going to work in the Wes Moore administration, is what he's angling for.
All right. We can move on from that. I just saw that picture and was.
Oh
yeah. But go ahead.
I think it's worth It's worth noting, though, that we have a Black governor. We have, in Howard County, we have a Black county executive. One of the county council members is Black. We have a Black district attorney. We have a Black sheriff in Howard County. These are all, most of our, most of the most powerful in this county are people of color who should, who should be at the forefront speaking out against this. Just at the very least on the killing of babies. You don't even have to go into like the oppressed versus the oppressor, like that discussion, which I think they should as well. But at the very least, they should talk about that. But they haven't, and it's just you're asking about Howard County and like suburban politics is they unfortunately when you look at who is in charge of the anti-racism narrative, and the DEI narrative in Howard County, it's the people who are comfortable enough for the conversation to go just to a point where it doesn't append their own space, and the people that they help elect are the ones who will not violate that, and that's what's happening, and that's the result. Now you have people who just pay lip service to to DEI and to anti-racism, but when it's really when it comes time to take the test, they fail. And we failed spectacularly in a major way all across the country when it came down to take a major test, and our county shows that.
Halam, please jump in and say anything else you'd like. But I thought to ask all of you, when I went to several of these rallies out here, my ignorance was, to me at least, shocking, because I had not been aware of how. I was amazed at how big these rallies were, number one, not just the amount, but how big. And how big what seemingly is the Palestinian or Arab or Muslim population. Could you talk a little bit about the amount of Palestinians in the area, or Arabs or Muslims in the area, and what that might have to say about future organizing potential? Because I was shocked. I honestly thought I was going to show up and it would be a handful of Green Party white liberal types. Like, that's what I thought it was going to be. And it was not. And I was pleasantly surprised. But again, ignorant to what's been going on in my area, my city or community for quite a while. Could you speak to some of that? Alham? I was asking you specifically, but anyone else, if not, we can.
Yeah. So I'm actually not from Howard County, so I was gonna let Jake or her take this. But
sure.
I can speak, I guess, Maryland.
Maybe to Maryland, sure.
In general, there is a pretty sizable Arab population. I think the Muslim population especially is very large, and for a lot of Muslims, this issue hits very close to home. And I think within the last few months, there has been just an activation of that community. Like, even prior to October, leading the Palestine protests, especially like in Montgomery County, DC, those kind of areas, we still did not even see the kind of numbers that we're seeing in this particular organizing moment. And I think the other thing with Palestine is a lot of people, when you really dig into the issue, it's so interconnected to so many other issues. Like, it is a microcosm of what's wrong with the entire world. Anti-Blackness, over-policing. The Israeli occupation forces train with American police forces. So there's that major connection. Anti-imperialism, the Zionist state sends weapons to other places, and the weapons that the United States sends the Zionist state to test on Palestinians are then sent other places. So then they're battle tested, which increases their value. So there's huge anti-imperialist ties when we talk about Palestine. Women's liberation, pretty much every single issue you could think of in some way is connected to Palestine. So I think that's why in this moment, and also just the imagery coming out of Palestine, because I think for the first time, social media is really, really being used by Palestinians on the ground to show every single day what's happening. And the images that are coming out of Palestine are so harrowing that people feel compelled to speak just because of that. I think every single day of the image of the father carrying his child in plastic bags. That image will never leave my head for the rest of my life. So I think when you have people who are finally really starting to see this and really starting to draw the connection with, well, how can we send them $3.8 billion every single year, but we don't have housing, we don't have food, we don't have jobs, we don't have, heat in our homes, those kind of things. It just becomes so obvious to the general person now. And a lot more people are speaking up for Palestine than we've ever seen before.
Yeah, right on. Anybody else got anything to add to that? Or anything beyond that?
I was just going to add.
Otherwise, I can. Yeah, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No.
Here.
No, just really quickly. When we first started, working around the issue here, Ahlam and MD to Palestine was one of the groups. Actually, the group that we reached out to, and it's been they've been very supportive. So just a shout out to them. So I know they've been doing a lot of work beforehand, and so just appreciate the support here.
So we do have this one question. Ricky's asking, do you all intend to broaden this fight to connect with surrounding counties? I'm assuming Alam's presence is an indicator, indication, but anybody want to confirm that?
Yeah. So
oh, Jake, I thought you're muted.
Amazing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, hello. Can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sorry about, but yeah. So we are doing a lot of Howard County actions, but we're also doing a lot of statewide solidarity actions, including Ahlam's organization, MD to Palestine. We've also been working with other groups like Maryland CARE, who's prominent Islamic advocacy organization. Their leader was actually illegally removed by Attorney General from our Maryland Hate Crimes Commission for her Palestinian advocacy.
That was another one. That was crazy.
Again, he didn't have the legal proof.
Sorry, Jake.
Yeah.
But I wanted you to say a word about that issue. And tell folks what CARE stands for.
Zainab Chaudhry.
Yeah.
I think CARE is Council of American Islamic Relations. They are a national organization, but they have an office here in Maryland. And to be perfectly clear, I don't agree with CARE on every single stance that they have on every issue, but certainly they've been a strong voice on Palestinian solidarity. And there's other positions that they've taken on issues where there is an argument that they're advocating for hateful things, but certainly not this, where they're advocating for the opposite of that, of stop to violence. And yet that is what our Attorney General Anthony Jones said is unacceptable and apparently disqualifying for a state hate crimes commission. And so he made a big public announcement that she's being temporarily removed until she can show that, you know, she respect her fellow commission members. And then that got a lot of criticism that he did that. And then maybe 2 weeks later, he had to backtrack on that because this is a relatively new commission. And this was the first person he tried to do something like that to. And basically, he doesn't have the statutory authority to remove her, at least not for that reason. And so he had to kind of embarrassingly and publicly backtrack on that and say, oh, actually, she is on the commission still because of the authority to remove her, but we're still going to come up with these communication guidelines how our members should conduct themselves publicly. And so Zainab Chaudhry is the head of Maryland Care. She was the member who was removed from the commission. And so we've been working a lot with that organization. There's other, you know, anti-Zionist Jewish organizations like Jewish Voices for Peace. And so we've been organizing all around the state. There's big movements in Montgomery County, Baltimore City, and it's all kind of coalescing for a week of action starting in January when our state government will be meeting. And so, and we'll send you these flyers and whatnot, Jared, so you can, you know, share as well. But basically on January 7th, Sunday, January 7th, in front of the State House in Annapolis, big statewide rally with a lot of the groups that I've already named and more. Also in favor of free speech against all of these actions from our state government.
Is there a flyer for that already?
And so that's going to be at 11:30. You said what?
If you have a flyer, please send it, and I'll share it.
Yes.
Right away.
Yes, absolutely. And so January 7th, January 8th, the following day here in Howard County, we're going to have a teach-in panel discussion on the issue with several, you know, prominent speakers on the issue. It's going to be at the Elkridge Public Library in the evening. And then January 10th, there's going to be a candlelight vigil also in front of Annapolis. That's the first day of session when our state government's meeting, candlelight vigil in front of the State House to make them feel that pressure. So yes, we're doing things locally, we're doing things statewide, and it's all to build pressure on the people at the top who have the real authority to end this stuff.
Right on. All right. So just, I usually, if we haven't set a time check around the hour, we're coming up on an hour. I don't know how much time you all have, but got a few more comments and questions here. And then, but I'm happy to hang out as long as you all want. Musa, shout out to Musa, is saying that Maryland is top 10 states with the biggest Muslim population. Thank you for that. We got that question. Let's see. Gamandi is asking, what are your responses to the congressional witch hunt against university presidents and the increased repression on college campuses? Good question.
Oh, go ahead, Alam. Go ahead, Alam.
Yeah, this is a great question. So I'm a student at University of Maryland, College Park, and we haven't faced too much, I would say. There was some, you know, questionable actions by the university, erasing like sidewalk chalk messages and stuff like that, and some pressure from parents trying to shut down organizations that were pro-Palestine, which at UMD has not been successful, knock on wood. But, you know, across the country, we've seen all kinds of repression against college students. And it's been going on for years, like especially with the Palestine movement. You know, pro-Palestine students on college campuses have been doxxed, harassed, faced, you know, suspension, expulsion, those kind of things, like just for having the audacity to speak up for Palestine. So for now, it to really come home to like university presidents is just yet another layer to this, like trying to silence the truth, because they know that college campuses are a hub for organizing, and a lot of people get radicalized to the Palestinian cause at their college campuses. So that just seems to be, you know, one of their biggest targets, because they know that's one of the most powerful places where people are learning about this and organizing for it. And also, you know, colleges do have direct, or maybe not quite as direct, but pretty strong ties to the Zionist state. Like our college has contracts with weapons manufacturers. you know, they in some ways are directly benefiting from the occupation, because if they're working with the companies that are sending the weapons and making money off of the oppression of Palestinians, like they don't want their students to know that, and they don't want their students to speak out against that. So it's just yet another layer to this whole major issue. But I think it just goes to show, like, we need to protect our college students, and they should absolutely be allowed. You know, these institutions love to claim that they're like great for learning and they want to have all these DEI conversations and blah blah blah, but then, you know, when people are having conversations that don't align with the liberal college language and things that they want to say, then all of a sudden it's a problem. But more power to the students.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah, I saw the like the exchanges, the congressional exchanges between the Ivy League presidents and the members of Congress, and I have no sympathy for these people. I'll be honest with you, because what I saw was a lot of a bunch of you know extremely well paid people engaging in revolting level of doublespeak, because um again, as Ahlam mentioned, they go around preaching DEI and anti-racism concepts, and they hold conferences and seminars, and they pat themselves in the back, and then when it came down to actually talking about it, they're doing, they're giving caveats and speaking on both sides, from both sides of their mouth, and they paid for it. So if you're not there's just a deep lack of conviction from them, and it just shows that. And again, like this is a watershed. If we agree that this is a watershed moment, if we agree that what we say and do now is important, they failed. And they failed their students, they failed their community, because they used, when it came down to, these are really powerful university presidents, and they could have used their platform to stand for their students that they proclaim to support. But they had, they chose to appease their their donors and their board of regents. But even what they said was not enough, because they, short of saying killing babies was okay, nothing that they said was enough, and they paid for it. So I have no sympathy for them.
Shame. Those poor 7, 8, 9-figure salaried folks. It's rough out here. Lee is adding on to your to that same question, to add to Gamandi's question. Repression is happening on the other levels of education. In Montgomery County, PS4 teachers were disciplined. Wow.
Yeah.
First of all, I didn't know Montgomery County calls its public schools like old New York schools, like PS4. Is that really how they do it in Montgomery County? I didn't know that. I thought that was a New York thing.
I think the PS might be the Palestinian flag. It just doesn't come through in emojis in the chat.
Oh, is that what that was? Oh, I was like, yeah, okay. In Mongo.
But
Palestinian teachers were. Is that what you're trying to say, Leah? My bad. I was like, what is PS? I was like, we got public PS4. My bad. Okay, thank you for the clarification. Yeah, go ahead, Jake.
On that point of how the censorship has been playing out at like even just the regular public school level, even beyond teachers, I don't think anything like that's happened in Howard County yet, luckily. But what has been happening in Howard County is you have student protesters, organizing walkouts and different demonstrations on the issue, and you're having the school administrations, call meetings with these students and say, hey, are you sure you really want to go through with this protest? Okay, maybe you could do the protest, but you can only do the protest if you don't mention the word Gaza. You can only do the walkout if you don't do X, Y, or Z. Telling the students what is considered, allowable and not allowable protest. And I think the reason why schools do this is because everybody's self-interested, and if the people at the top are taking the Israel lobby money, even if the lower level elected officials aren't taking it, they're still going to listen to the people at the top because they know who pulls the strings. And same with even a principal or a university administrator or professor. They know even if they're not taking the money, if they speak out, their boss probably is allied to this lobby. And so I better, shut my mouth, or I'll end up like these other presidents getting calls for them being fired.
The other thing that I know that's happening in the schools from talking to my daughters and then hearing what was said at the gathering the other day at the library is that there's just a general silencing of the discussion and the topic. My daughters routinely report there's been literally no discussion of the issue in any classes where it would be relevant to do so. And I admit that part of my initial reaction, although I see all the flaws and contradictions, is that good, because I hesitate to think what form of that education would take if they did talk about it. But I ultimately know that that's not what we need. So, but I just noticed that was one apparent tactic that seems to be happening. Just a couple things. Moose is saying again, it's funny because the right wing hates care, but they're so liberal. Yeah. So Jake, that maybe is what you were talking about in terms of your, and oh no, the clarification came in. Montgomery County Public School System, 4 teachers were disciplined. That's wild. And then Leah says again, one of the teachers was Randall Robinson's daughter, who was an art teacher. Wow. Okay. That's deep. Wow. Okay. Okay. So, well, what is it? What else do we want to cover, or do you want to let folks know about? And I'll just say again publicly that anytime you and others want to come through here, or we can be of support in some way, just let us know. Definitely send those flyers and any other info that you want us to keep up with. And feel free to come back anytime. And with others, I definitely wanted to reach out to some of the folks that were at that meeting you convened at the library the other day, and continue the conversation and build with people out here, because it was a little bit inspiring. I have to admit, it was, to be out here and see folks moving like that was right on. So, but anything else any of you or all of you would like to add? Again, I'm not rushing you out, but if I'm not, so attempting to hold you either. So yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I think it was asked earlier, also, I just wanted to add to a question that was asked, and I think Jake responded to if there were other counties doing that. So if you're, if you're in Maryland and, you want to get involved, just, feel free to reach out to us. And, we'll see if there are others with, other groups in like Prince George's County or Montgomery County or Anne Arundel that are involved, that we can put you, in touch with. If you just want to do something, write to your local council members, to your board of education members, and
should we write to Liz?
Yeah. I think,
and encourage her to stand by her initial statement. Liz,
I think
you were on the right track, Liz.
Yeah. I think so. I think, we need to reach out to our local elected officials and, tell them to speak out and say where they stand. If you don't say where you stand now, I keep saying this over and over again. If we're not on the same page about a genocide, anything that you tell me about reducing school overcrowding or addressing traffic congestion is meaningless. It's garbage because you've not told me where you stand on genocide, especially when it's funded by our taxpayer dollars. And so, I think speaking to our board of education, to your local board of education, going to the meeting or even writing to them and saying, are you creating an environment where teachers feel safe to talk about, to apply the anti-racism training that they have received to their students? Are you saying that it's okay? Are you publicly putting out statements saying it's okay that our teachers will not face any punitive action for doing that? I think it would be important for people to do that. And again, writing to your council members saying, speak out. We need to know where you stand. And I fear that, what my fear is, all the federal legislators are on a timetable, and I hate to say it, but they're going to say a ceasefire when they're told it's okay to say ceasefire. They're on a timetable, and we just it has to start from your local level, and just build the pressure up to make it more uncomfortable for the federal legislators.
Right on.
Definitely consider sending Liz Walsh, the council member in Howard County, an email encouraging her to stick by the call to the end for the ceasefire, and encourage her to also consider actually introducing a resolution on it, because that's what we're trying to convince her on. But my last word I want to say is, Jared said something earlier. He said when he showed up to that first rally that we did in Howard County in November, he was almost fully expecting that it might just be like 10 or so white Green Party liberals or progressives. And to be honest, I think Huri and I and Ahalam, like all three of us, thought that was a risk too, and that might be the turnout as well. And it's not what I wanted, but it was a fear that is a possibility, and you kind of have to take that risk just like any other organizing action. And we didn't know what the outcome was going to be, but we knew that it was an important issue, and all we could do is hope that if we build it, they will come if we get the word out. And that's what we did, and it ended up working out. We've done that with several other actions since. And all I would say is that's how it works, and that's what I would encourage everybody else to do, whether you're in Maryland or another state. If even just like 3 or 4 other people who feel the same way that you feel, start to plan something, start to look what are other local organizations and if you just take that initiative to like plan it and then get the word out, those groups will get the word out to their groups, and it will get in attendance. And if you contact the media will come. And we need to just do this stuff at least once a week, like in every state, and constantly get this in the news. And that's what makes it hard for the elected officials to ignore it, is when we don't stop. And that's probably how it happened in South Africa, I would guess.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah, my final thoughts are just, we're in this for the long haul, and it's the duty of all of us to continue this fight, not only for Palestinians in Palestine, but for the world all over. A better world is absolutely possible, and it's on us to build it and create it.
All right. Right on. Well, I appreciate you all contacting me and coming on here and just personally making me aware of a lot of what's going on right around where I live, and by extension, many of the rest of us who will see and hear this later. So thank you all very much for the work. And anytime you all want to come back in any formation, just let me know and we'll make it happen. let me just say peace to you all, because I know you're willing to fight for it, like Fred Hampton used to say. And I'll see you next time you're around here. Thank you all very much for coming through.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Big thanks to them, Alam, Hurry, and Jake for coming through and putting this together. Thanks to all of you who were able to join us here live, and to those seeing this later. Of course, peace and thanks to you. Definitely like, share, subscribe, comment. Let us know what you think, thought, and add on. Definitely.
Put it in the comments.
And make sure you have the bell rung so you don't miss anything. I know we got some issues with notifications, but if the bell rung, that will help. And please, again, like, share, subscribe. And thanks, everybody, for coming through. And as always, peace only if you're willing to fight for it, as Fred Hampton used to say. And we'll catch you next time here at I Mix What I Like throughout the BPM platform. Tomorrow, we're back with World Football Talk on this program. And then I know that there's a lot more coming out on the platform in due time. So, and see you Friday morning for EYL too. So peace, everybody. Catch you next time.
And what do you sacrifice?
Calm, kindness, kinship, love. I've given up all chance at inner peace. I made my mind a sunless space. I share my dreams with ghosts. I wake up every day to an equation I wrote 15 years ago for which there's only one conclusion. I'm damned for what I do. My anger, my ego, my unwillingness to yield, my eagerness to fight, they set me on a path from which there's no escape. I yearn to be a savior against injustice without contemplating the cost, and by the time I look down, there's no longer any ground beneath my feet. What is my sacrifice? I'm condemned to use the tools of my enemy to defeat them. I burn my decency for someone else's future. I burn my life to make a sunrise that I know I'll never see. Now, the ego that started this fight will never have a mirror or an audience or the light of gratitude. So what do I sacrifice? Everything.